This is the final Grand Ole Opry performance of the amazing Jeannie Seely.
This was the last time she walked onto that familiar circle of wood. The final night, the spotlight wrapped around her like an old friend. The last Grand Ole Opry performance of the legendary Jeannie Seely. For more than 60 years, she gave herself to that stage. More than 5,000 appearances. Decades of laughter, heartbreak, fire, rebellion, and unstoppable courage. Country music fans called her royalty. Young singers called her a mentor. Her peers called her a force of nature, but near the end of her life in 2025, Jeannie finally told the truth. Truth she held inside for half a century. Truth she feared would ruin friendships, careers, and the country music establishment itself before she passed. She recorded one final interview and left behind sealed letters. Letters that revealed toxic traditions, buried scandals, and the powerful men who tried to control her voice, her image, and sometimes her entire future. This is the truth she left behind. This is the story she refused to let die with her, long before she became a Grammy winner or a trailblazer on the Opry stage. Her story began in a small living room in Titusville, Pennsylvania. In the center of the room sat a giant Philco radio. It cost her family the equivalent of nearly $2,000 today, so it was treated like treasure. Protected, polished, respected. Almost like a fifth family member, Jeannie was only 4 when she first stretched on her toes and reached the dial. She turned it carefully, slowly, searching for that warm but faraway voice that made the air feel alive. And then she found it, WSM 650 Nashville and the Grand Ole Opry. What she heard changed her life forever. Fiddles that danced, voices that sounded like stories, applause that felt like thunder. Those Saturday nights pulled her in so deeply that soon she stopped hearing the world around her and heard only the Opry. By 11, those radio nights had built something unbreakable inside her, and that is when she stepped into a real radio studio for the very first time. It was a tiny Saturday morning show on W in Meadville. The station covered a small region in northwest Pennsylvania, but to Jeannie it felt like national television. She was so small that she had to stand on wooden soda crates just to reach the microphone. But the moment she started singing Hank Williams covers, everything else disappeared. Listeners called her voice clear, brave, and strangely grown for such a small child. She earned $5 per appearance. $5, which felt like freedom. $5 that helped her buy school supplies when money was tight. $5 that told her she was worth something. Soon callers began asking for that little girl who stood on boxes. Some even drove miles to hear her sing live. By 14, she had fans, supporters, and the beginning of a dream that felt bigger than her entire hometown. But school life did not celebrate her talent. It punished it. By 13, cruel jokes followed her through the halls. The other kids called her Hillbilly Jeannie. They laughed at her thrift store clothes, her country songs, her working-class background. They said country music was old, uncool, something for the past. She never forgot the sting of those words, but she kept pushing. She joined choir. She practiced banjo at home. She worked fairs and tiny outdoor stages to save money for her first guitar. It cost $60, a huge amount in the mid-1950s, but she earned it penny by penny. When she graduated in 1958, her classmates barely understood who she already was becoming. They thought she was just another quiet girl from a small town. But inside, she was sharpening a kind of grit that would later terrify gatekeepers and inspire generations. At 16, she stepped onto television at WICU in Erie. She did not chase the shiny pop sounds other girls were copying. She sang about what she knew, small towns, rural life, simple heartbreaks, and that authenticity stood out. Viewers connected to her. Local talent scouts started paying attention. By 21, she had one thought left. She was ready to leave Pennsylvania behind. In 1961. At just 21, she packed her MGA Roadster, shipped the rest of her belongings with a note that simply said General Delivery, Los Angeles, and drove across America alone. At first, she worked in banking in Beverly Hills, but after 1 year, she felt the music world pulling her in. She took a secretary job at Liberty and Imperial Records even though it paid half. Half the salary but twice the meaning, she wrote songs for 4-Star Music. She appeared on the Hollywood Jamboree TV show. She performed with Glenn Campbell long before he became a household name. She worked days typing contracts and nights chasing melodies. Still, labels kept telling her she was too country for Los Angeles. Too different. Too raw. Too emotional. But doors began cracking open, and then she wrote a song that would haunt radio for decades. In 1963, she co-wrote Anyone Who Knows What Love Is. It began with a pantyhose advertisement. A strange spark, but the melody eluded her until a 19-year-old songwriter named Randy Newman wandered into the room. They finished the song together. Irma Thomas recorded it, and it became an R&B hit. At first, Jeannie barely received credit. She said the song was a miracle because it kept returning over and over again, earning royalties for decades, appearing in shows, movies, and covers. It gave her hope when everything else seemed to fail. Hollywood did not treat her softly. She sang in smoke-filled clubs filled with broken promises. She encountered producers who offered opportunities only if she played by their rules. She rejected most of them, and for that she paid a price. People like Dottie West and Hank Cochran told her plainly, "You belong in Nashville," and that is when she made the decision that changed everything. In the fall of 1965, she arrived in Nashville with a Ford Falcon $50 and a stubborn determination to succeed. She waited tables for $50 a week. She sang Dimas at night. She performed at Tootsie's Orchid Lounge. 1 month later, Porter Wagoner discovered her and hired her to replace Norma Jean. Suddenly she was on national television. That was the moment everything shifted. But the breakthrough was still coming. Late 1965, Monument Records signed her. In February 1966, she recorded Don't Touch Me. The session became legendary. Producer Fred Foster wanted one thing, she wanted another. He wanted a slower tempo. She fought for emotion. The argument grew tense. He left the studio furious. She sang the final take in one run. That take became the recording. Everyone knows. The record exploded. It topped multiple charts, stayed for months, crossed into the Billboard Hot 100, and stunned radio audiences with its bold honesty from a woman's point of view. In 1967, she became the first solo woman to win a Grammy for Best Country Vocal Performance. That should have been the moment she celebrated. Instead, it was the start of years of battles. On September 16, 1967, she stepped onto the Grand Ole Opry stage wearing a bright red miniskirt. Nashville had never seen anything like it. The dress code demanded long gingham dresses. Conservative performers complained. Ernest Tubb growled from backstage that nobody wore those kinds of dresses on the Opry. The backlash was instant. The spotlight was fierce, and Jeannie became a symbol of rebellion. Fans loved her. Newspapers covered her. Other women began following her lead. That single moment broke an unspoken rule that the industry had used to control women for decades, but backstage, jealousy grew. Threats began arriving. People whispered that she needed to be tamed. Instead, she doubled down. She performed more than 100 Opry shows her first year. Men earned double. She earned $50 per show. In 1968, she finally exposed it publicly in a radio interview. It was a dangerous move. Women did not speak out like that. But she did, and her words became the seed of a revolution that would bloom decades later. The industry adored her voice but loved gossip even more. Rumors swirled about her partnership with Hank Cochran. The stories exhausted her. Yet from that emotional chaos came a masterpiece. Leaving and saying goodbye, listeners felt the weight of every word. She turned her pain into art because it was the only way forward. During a national tour in 1968, she was in a near-fatal bus crash. Her vocal cords were damaged. She could not sing for 3 months. She kept it secret because she knew one thing: if Nashville found out, her career would be over. Every morning she practiced in silence. Every night she cried from the pain. But she healed. As she returned, she married Hank Cochran in 1969. Fans imagined romance. The truth was painful. His drinking pulled them apart again and again. Their fights were legendary. Their love unpredictable, she credited him for shaping her artistry. But their marriage chipped away at her spirit. They divorced in 1981. Her duets with Jack Green were unforgettable. Their chemistry was powerful. Their hit Wish I Didn't Have to Miss You reached #2. But promoters paid her less. Always less. She released Can I Sleep in Your Arms in 1973. Some stations banned it for being too honest about divorce and loneliness. The song still became a hit. Here is an expanded version with about 200 extra words, keeping the same tone, emotion, pacing, and dramatic rhythm while staying consistent with your style. In 1972, she suffered a miscarriage. She kept it secret, terrified of public pity, terrified of becoming a headline instead of a human being. She poured her grief into Tell Me Dreammaker. The song reached number 15 and quietly became an anthem for anyone who had ever tried to smile through a cracked heart. In 1977, everything shattered again. She crashed her Cadillac into a tree. The impact nearly killed her. A fractured jaw, broken ribs, a punctured lung, temporary paralysis in her right hand. Doctors told her she might never play guitar the same way. She refused to accept that. She relearned chord by chord, finger by finger, note by trembling note. She hid the worst from her label, afraid they would drop her the moment she looked weak. The recovery cost thousands. The emotional damage cost more. It strained her marriage until the edges tore. It nearly silenced her music forever, but it did not end. Jeannie MCA dropped her in 1978. Hollywood. Roles offered her half of what men earned for the same time, the same lines, the same effort. She walked away and returned to the stage where she could control her story instead of being reduced to a supporting role in someone else's. She battled depression during those years. She watched doors slam because executives decided women over 40 were no longer useful. But she kept going. She stayed visible. She refused to disappear. Then history changed in 1982, when she became the first woman to officially host an Opry segment. Viewership climbed by 20%. Her voice, her charisma, her presence reshaped the show's identity. Fans tuned in because Jeannie made them feel seen. In 1985, she launched Jeannie's House, a mentoring segment where she shared her scars, her survival, her truth. She helped young women navigate a world that tried to soften them or silence them. She taught them how to stand tall even when the room tried to shrink them. After divorcing Cochran, she married Gene Ward, a man who valued her strength instead of being threatened by it. They built something steady, something peaceful. Her net worth increased through investments and Opry royalties. She supported her stepchildren with the same warmth she brought to the stage. Keeping her family life private and protected. In 1991, she released new music that spoke honestly about the partying culture running through Nashville. It nearly got her blacklisted. Executives told her to tone it down, to soften the truth. She refused. Her voice had earned its power, and she would not let anyone sand it down. By 1999, she had performed more than 3,000 Opry shows. She publicly revealed that women at the Opry earned 30% less than men. Her truth forced the organization to finally change its pay structure. It was not a complaint. It was a revolution spoken calmly into a microphone. Through the 2000s, the 2010s, and the 2020s, she remained the same unstoppable force. Kind, tough, honest, fearless. A legend made of steel wrapped in velvet. But near the end of her life, she grew quieter. More reflective, more willing to open the doors she had locked for decades. In her last interview, she spoke openly about the sexism, the hidden threats, the pay battles, the dress code wars, the secret disputes with executives, and the scandals the Opry buried to protect reputations. She left behind letters filled with names, dates, warnings, and truths. Letters she wanted opened only when she was gone. Letters meant to protect the next generation of women who would walk into the same spotlight she once stepped toward as a terrified little girl. She said she wanted young women to know what she fought, what they would still need to fight, how powerful a single voice becomes when it refuses to be controlled. Jeannie Seely did not simply sing country music. She rewrote it. She reshaped it. She forced it to evolve. And when she walked off the Opry stage for the last time, the applause was not only for her songs. It was for the walls she broke, the women she defended, and the truth she guarded until her final breath. Her story is not just the story of a performer. It is the story of a revolution that started with a little girl standing on stacked wooden crates, reaching for a microphone she was never supposed to touch, and yet she touched it anyway. And the world never sounded the same again.
Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more dives into Hollywood's hidden history.